Welcome to the Disrupting Obesity podcast. I'm Charlotte Skanes, and I'll be sharing ways to regain control over your body and lose an extreme amount of weight naturally. Being fat is about so much more than just the food. It's about your relationship with food. That means that dealing with your weight is about more than just the food, too. You have to change that relationship. You have to start disrupting obesity. I know everybody wants you to think that processed foods are evil. They're not. Actually, sometimes they're a great choice when you're trying to lose weight. There's a lot of noise out there that if you eat processed foods, you won't be able to lose weight, or it will somehow make it harder, and it's all bullshit. When I talk about this, I'm waving a red flag for Gladys, and I'm opening myself up to a lot of criticism, but enough is enough. Processed foods aren't evil. Things like TV dinners can be a great tool when you're losing weight, and we're going to talk about it. Gladys is be damned. Somehow, TV dinners are evil, but supplements and shakes are just fine. Bullshit. I could go off on a rant about how virtually every single thing we eat is processed in some way, but I want to talk about why things like frozen meals can be so helpful and such a positive when you're watching your calories. And before it comes up, because I'm sure some of you have already started those emails, I'm not being paid by anybody at all. Zero sponsored posts, zero sponsored episodes, zero ads. I work with exactly none of the brands that may or may not come up today. I'm affiliated with nobody. To be super simple and clear, I'm not talking to you, Gladys. You like to think I am, and you act that way, but I'm not. I'm not here to make an argument that's going to change someone's mind or to try and convince somebody to walk away from whatever they're eating and switch to TV dinners and other processed foods. I'm here to push back against the people saying that those foods are evil or that they prevent weight loss. I'm here to meet people where they are. Because this whole processed foods are evil thing, when you get right down to it, it's the same as the exercise issue. And I hate the whole do it my way or you don't deserve to lose weight thing. I really fucking hate it. And yeah, I'm sorry if this one's a little intense. I'm trying to calm down. But I'm coming off 3 straight episodes where I spent more time dealing with Gladys than anybody else. And I've already started talking about today's issue over on my social media. So I'm already hearing it. On this issue, I'm always hearing it. But at the same time, I've been avoiding this issue and standing up for these kinds of foods because I don't like inviting the negativity into my life. I've learned, though, specifically from a post I did a few weeks ago on Instagram about a microwave meal that I was having for lunch. I've learned that my flamingos, you guys are glad that I'm talking about it, especially when you've either been avoiding using these tools, like eating them, or feeling bad about yourself when you do eat them. You don't have to avoid them, and you definitely don't have to feel bad for eating them. I ate processed foods the entire time I lost 200 pounds. And when I lost the 115 or so that I gained back, yeah, the whole time. And I still lost the weight at a rate of about 1.5 pounds a week. I don't think I could have lost weight without processed foods, without convenience foods, because maybe we should make a distinction here. We're always operating on the baseline premise that all of the food that we eat is processed in some way. Well, I always am. Okay. Just like how we all intermittent fast, which I know that's a whole other topic. But technically, washing food is a process. So there's pretty much nothing we eat that isn't processed. So when I'm talking about processed food today, I'm talking about the ultra processed stuff, the shit that Gladys gets really torqued about, the TV dinners and the stuff in the boxes, the pasta in cans and the stuff that's vacuum sealed in plastic. Convenience foods. Nothing wrong with it. It's just fear mongering. Yeah, there's salt. Yeah, it was made in a factory and it's in a plastic tray. Totally fine. I'm not suggesting that you have a diet that's nothing but these foods, but you don't have to avoid them or feel bad about it. There's a reason we call them convenience foods. They're convenient. When it comes to losing weight, there aren't a lot of things that are convenient. I wish there were, but there just aren't. If you made up a list of 1,000 things that were, convenient and easy, losing weight wouldn't make the list at all. The first time I lost weight, I was a full-time university student with multiple jobs, including a full-time job, 2 part-time jobs, and a 1 day a week job. It was busy. Sean and I were already out on our own, and I'm lucky because he'll eat pretty much anything. So that was never an issue. If somebody else takes the time to cook it, he will eat it. But between school and work, I did not have a ton of time left over for food prep. We were also super broke. So I had to eat what we could afford. And you could get frozen dinners for under $1. Like I was at my grocery store this morning and they're $1.25 still, right? Like they're accessible. And then you just pop them in the microwave and they're done. I could take them with me to my full-time gig. It was beyond convenient. So there's that, right? They're just fucking handy to have around when you're in a time crunch. The second time I lost weight, I had 3 kids under 4. So yeah, that's a whole other kind of busy. But the last thing I wanted to do was cook a separate meal for myself. But I also didn't always want to eat what everybody else was eating because I didn't have the calories or because I wanted to have more calories left so I could have something else later. So fine, I'll cook whatever for everybody else and pop in a TV dinner for myself. Done. Very convenient. And it made my life so much easier. The reason I couldn't have lost my weight without processed foods is the mental side more than anything else, right? I needed to still feel like me. And the first time I lost weight, I clearly didn't have the whole 3A way thing. And I definitely did not have the comfort, reward, and cope thing figured out. I gained more than half my weight back, right? The proof's in the pudding here. So the first time I lost weight, I needed those foods to keep comforting, rewarding, and helping myself to cope with food. If you're new, the 3A way and comfort, reward, and cope are foundations for me around here. I talk about them a lot. Both of those concepts have their own episodes, 12 and 5. In a super, super tiny nutshell, I believe that all of our emotional eating comes back to one of those 3 things, and sometimes more than one of them. We're eating to comfort, reward, or cope with an emotion. The 3A way is awareness, acknowledgement, and accountability. And those things are how you deal with both your weight and your relationship with food. I didn't do the work I needed to do the first time I lost the weight to change my relationship with food. I got the losing weight part figured out, but to get the relationship part sorted, I had to go through the whole almost dying thing and then lose all that weight I gained back. I needed the perspective shift. And I needed processed foods both times. The first time, because I couldn't have kept going without feeling like I was indulging myself when I needed to comfort, reward, or cope. And the second time, because I recognized that I needed to use them as a tool to comfort, reward, and cope in a controlled way that I was a very active participant in. And that was the key difference. Doing it that way, they helped me to change my relationship with food the second time, and they helped me to keep going the first time through. I get that one of the biggest parts of this is giving yourself permission, pushing back against the cultural pressure and telling yourself it's okay to pop a microwavable meal in. Then you don't have to feel guilty, right? It's okay for things to feel indulgent when you're losing weight. It's not punishment. Here's the thing. Let's get right down to it. I felt like it was very condescending when people would tell me to just eat healthier. Cut the junk. The advice from the people who passionately hate processed food would be a lot easier to take if it didn't feel so judgmental. And I know I was projecting at least some of the time because I always felt so judged when I was fat. Clearly, I've made my peace with that. I walk through the world with pink hair. It kind of invites assumptions. But telling people to just eat healthier doesn't work. Plus, people already know. They've heard it more than once. We know. You keep giving us the same solution. Just eat healthier. And we keep saying, we're trying, but it's not working. Or we're trying, but we don't like it. Or I don't think I want to try. I don't want to eat that. And that was me. I knew about the food pyramid. I knew that if I ate lots of vegetables and whole grains, I would lower my caloric intake. I knew that eating those foods would give me more calories for foods I actually did like eating. But I still didn't want to eat them. At no point did I switch to quinoa and kale. So if the only solution that you have for obesity is eat healthier, we're at a bit of an impasse here. Like, I'm not sure which way we go now. I don't know how it feels to be the person telling someone to just eat more vegetables and cook from scratch all the time, and then have the other person look at you and be like, no. I imagined that those people were disgusted with me and thought that I was doomed, mostly because I got that exact reaction so many times. I still get that reaction. But what's the answer then? Seriously. Again, this is like the exercise people. Do it my way or you're doomed. What happened to meeting people where they are? I would much rather someone use ultra processed foods and artificial sweeteners, the convenience foods, fast food. I would rather someone eat those things while they're losing weight than have that person just not lose weight. Because it feels like that's the only option that eat healthier cheerleaders are leaving us. If you don't do XYZ, you won't lose weight and you're screwed. You're also an idiot if you can't see that that's just good common sense. I don't think that's always their intention, but it feels that way. And I'm going to say this because I've never said this, but I'm kind of in a bit of a mood. You're not better than me because you lost your weight eating clean, Gladys. I don't talk about those emails, those messages, those comments that come in, but they do. Usually the words, how dare you, are in there somewhere too. And probably something about how irresponsible I am. But you're not better. There's no better here. Whether you lose your weight eating clean or with surgery or the GLP-1s, or you do it my way and you eat whatever you want, just less of it. It's not about better or worse or which way is harder or more valid or whatever scale of righteousness that you're weighing this on. Losing weight is hard no matter how you do it. The winners when it comes to weight loss are the ones who maintain it. And the ones who do that are the ones who change their relationship with food. Processed foods, convenience foods, they were part of my relationship with food, a big part of it. Trying to just walk away wasn't going to heal that relationship. It wasn't going to work. And I decided a long time ago, I wasn't going to be shamed for my food choices anymore by myself or anybody else. It only makes things so much worse. It doesn't matter what you eat when you're in a deficit. And Gladys, I swear to God, I can deal with the emails all day. But you and I both know it's a complete waste of your time because nobody's changing anybody's mind here. Losing weight is hard. Stop making it harder by assigning moral value to food based on other people's opinions. And I've heard all the arguments against convenience foods, but I read the ingredients. And aside from the salt, which is undeniably an issue, I really don't see what your problem is. I looked at my little TV dinners in there and the ingredients, yeah, I don't get it. And I'm going to remind you, if you just picked up your keyboard, that I live in Canada. Food is different here from the States, even when it's made by the same company. The current cake mix debacle on Instagram is a perfect example. I shared that by cutting out the milk that the box calls for when you're making a cake, that's a good way to cut out some calories. And then it started. Not for the first time, but it started up again. Apparently, that's not the case everywhere else. Cool. It is here. Even with Betty Crocker. My boxes of cake mix have everything in 2 languages here too. If things are different, right? It's the law. But in some cases, our ingredients are different too. Even with things like McDonald's, things are just slightly different, right? I think our Big Macs have, I think it's 40 more calories than yours do in the States, but your fries have more calories than ours. Yeah, things are different. So when it comes to things like convenience foods, things here might be a little bit different than they are in the US or other places. But no matter where you are, you don't need to feel bad about using convenience foods as a tool to help you lose weight at all. And some of those TV dinners are really good. Now, this is probably as good a time as any to talk about why you don't have to limit yourself to the quote unquote diet ones. If you go to your freezer aisle and hold the diet version and the regular version side by side, a lot of the time they're going to be closer in calories than you think they'd be. And that's when you're going to have to do a juice versus squeeze analysis. Is it worth it to get the lower calorie version? If it's going to leave you feeling a lot less satisfied, you might end up eating something else later. So maybe it's not a good idea. Make sure you check the weight too. Is the diet one significantly smaller? What do the calories work out to per gram? because sometimes it's the same. And if you've seen my video about diet bread, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. The juice has to be worth the squeeze. Sure, you're going to save 78 calories, but you know you like the regular version more, and you can probably find those calories somewhere else. I've been known to stack them too. I'll have a couple of them. There's a turkey dinner one here that's 190 calories. That's not always enough food though. And because it's so low in calories, I can have another one. The other day I had the 190 calorie one, but I was still hungry. So I had a 340 calorie one a little while later, and I added extra cheese to it. That brings me to the next big advantage to convenience foods when you're losing weight. There's no guesswork. It's all done for you. Just look at the back of the box. You know exactly what you're getting. Now, I probably don't have to tell you that tracking fatigue is a thing. It's a very real thing, a very big pain in the ass thing. And it happens to just about everybody. Tracking calories isn't fun at all. It's exhausting. It's boring. It's tedious. Here's the thing though. The only way to lose weight is to be in a calorie deficit. The only way to know that you're in a calorie deficit is to track what you eat. That makes tracking the only real weight loss shortcut out there. You need to make it as easy on yourself as you can. Also, losing weight isn't fast. You don't want to burn out here. You need to make this as easy on yourself as you can. Sometimes that means grabbing something out of the freezer, chucking it into the microwave, scanning the barcode into your app, and then not having to worry about it. And there's no rule that says you can't add to them or use them as a base. Put some extra cheese on it or cook some extra veggies to have with it or some extra potatoes. You've got options, especially with the super low calorie ones. You can just build on them. Convenience foods can feel indulgent too, and that can be the boost you need mentally, especially if you're volume eating or you're making a lot of nutrient-dense choices when you're not used to eating like that. When you're trying to manage your calories, whether you're incorporating lower calorie stuff that you don't usually eat or not, because you can lose weight eating nothing but bacon and bubblegum, but when you're managing your calories, you need to feel like you're indulging yourself some of the time. It can't be all restrictions. And you can feel like you're indulging yourself when you're tracking your calories. You absolutely can. Let's say that you know you're going to have a 400 calorie microwave meal for dinner. Cool. And you've got 2,200 calories a day. All right. You're leaving yourself a lot of room for the rest of your day by making that choice for dinner. Even if you're towards the end of your journey and you've got like 1,400 calories a day, you've still got a fair bit to work with. You're leaving yourself some runway. And don't underestimate how significant it is that the calories are fixed. There's no guesswork because the heavy lifting has been done for you. When you're not agonizing over how many calories are in something, you have more mental space. It takes some of the pressure off and makes things just slightly easier. I would like to help take the pressure off too. And I've got a few different ways to do that. You can grab a copy of my weight loss workbook on Amazon. It's called Disruptor. You can get a copy of my free guide to getting started for the last time. It's already helping thousands of women all around the world. And if you're really ready to dive in and do this once and for all, there's the program. And I moved it online and I dropped the price by 90% so it can help as many people as possible. This is the year. I know January was rough, but we've got it. Let's control what we can and get the weight off while you change your relationship with food so that it stays off. I will be back next Monday, Flamingos. Keep trying, keep tracking. Don't be intimidated and don't give up. You've totally got this. Thank you for listening to Disrupting Obesity with Charlotte Skanes. If you know it's time to take back control, lose the weight and keep it off, reach out to me privately with a direct message on Instagram that says ready, so you can start disrupting obesity.